Looking for some shenanigans.
We have no idea. And there we are in the middle of it, smiling and laughing. We're like, I'm going to be paying for this for a long time.
I said, we need to go before we can't.
Get the fuck out of bed, bitch. Go.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Sick Golf Trip podcast, where everyday golfers share their stories, budgets, formats, mistakes, and more so that you can get ideas and get inspired to make your memory with your own sick golf trip. I'm your host, 𝐤𝐞𝐿, along with my co-host, Berkeley Hoagland. How's it going, Burke?
Man, it's going amazing, buddy. Going amazing. Things are great. Loving life, brother. How are you doing, Kerry? How you doing?
I'm doing well. You took a few days off golf to go travel the world to Japan, yeah?
Yeah, man, I tell you, I was going crazy not being able to golf. So bad that anywhere we went, I had to try to find a golf store or somewhere that I could just go in and check out the golf scene out there. I heard so many good things about the golf scene in Japan, especially from you, because you'd said you'd been out there. I didn't get to play, but I was kind of thinking I could go out there and I could find some cool golf stuff, something different that you don't find out here. And I was just disappointed, man. Like, I went to a couple golf stores and they were just kind of like same stuff. And a lot of the stuff was more expensive over there than we could get here. You know what I mean? I was kind of bummed out. You know, you can't beat a PGA golf store. You know what I mean? That is like the creme of the creme.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, when I went out there last year as well, I tried to get out to a course, rent some clubs, but at the end of the day, it was, we were out there for a family vacation. It was too far outside of Tokyo to get there and to spend the whole day. It would have been too much. But it does sound like a different experience out there. As far as the stores and the retail side of things, I agree with you. There's nothing there necessarily that we don't have here.
Right.
Roger Dunn or any PGA stores just as big. The only thing difference there is they've got less space, so they built up instead of out.
Yep, exactly. So the thing that I was also bummed about, because I was like, all right, cool, maybe I could pick up some golf shoes that I can't find out here. Man, they don't even freaking sell anything over 10 and a half. So I was like, what the hell's going on?
Everybody there's my size, 5'5" and under.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I was like, man, you ain't got no sumo guys playing golf? So I was a little bummed. But man, I heard the Japanese, the way to golf out there is pretty cool. I've seen some videos where you play 9 and then you go get lunch and then you play the back 9 and they have a caddy for you and they really take care of you. So that's definitely on my bucket list.
True experience. Yeah, that's what I heard as well. But it's a ways to go. So have you been reviewing the podcast that we've been publishing?
Yes, I have. Yeah, I really like it. I really, really like them. I think it's going to catch on. People I've talked to like it. They think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, getting some good feedback myself from folks, and we have fun doing it, but I also have fun rewatching them, and it is fulfilling the promise, at least to me, around getting ideas and getting inspired. It's been amazing. Like, I almost have too much FOMO now because I want to go here, I want to go here. The bucket list is growing too big.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And I've never been on a true golf trip, so we've been on the same team for tons of hockey tournaments. But man, I can't wait to just do a focused golf trip with the guys, 6-7 days. Every day you're golfing, and at nighttime you're having dinners, and I can't wait. Yeah. I cannot wait.
So everybody out there, we're trying to plan something for next year at some point. My 50th, Berkeley's 60th. So give us ideas, more ideas, and maybe even tag along. Come along with us, make some new friends. The other side of that is I think we need to do like a mini trip.
Yeah.
Maybe towards the end of this year, maybe something more local. If anybody has done anything in the Las Vegas, I know we did a Palm Springs TPC West with Tam, but I'm thinking something in Vegas might be good. 2, 3, 4 days just to get our feet wet, or get Berkeley's feet wet, and then set up for the big one next year, if we can get that on the books.
You know what? I think that would be amazing. I think a Vegas trip would be awesome. Yeah, and if anybody out there wants to host us coming to your course, we could shoot the podcast from your course, do a play pod, and have some fun there. It would be super sick, dude. Super sick.
Drop a comment if you want to see us hacks on a golf course. I kind of debate this with Berkeley. Berkeley thinks people want to see us hack around. I'm like, I don't know. We're just hacks, but let us know. Today's guest, Greg Johnson. How's it going, Greg?
Good. How about yourself, guys?
Yeah,
Doing well.
everything's good.
So, Greg, you met Berkeley on a golf courses recently. Is that correct?
That is correct. We shared our enjoyment for hockey as well as started talking a little bit about golf. And then he heard how myself and my good buddy Ian Ball, we had just finished a golf trip to Ireland. And one thing led to another, and here I am.
It sounds like
Yeah.
you were the victim of an unfortunate golf pairing.
No, we didn't even play together. We were actually sitting in the bar. You know me, I talked to everybody. He was sitting next to me, and I heard him talking about his Ireland trip, and I'm like, really? Oh, you went on an Ireland trip? And then we just started talking, man. And yeah, so that worked out pretty good. I actually think we first met, I think it was you, Greg, coming out on a corner pretty fast, almost freaking ran me over in the golf cart. That's where I think I met him. I saw him.
Could have been. We were hungry. That's what it was, but
Very
That's
cool.
awesome.
So, when did you go on this Ireland trip? It was what, in May or June?
it was May. We left Memorial Day weekend. 8 of us left on a Friday night, flew into Dublin, enjoyed the day there. There were 12 of us in total. The 4 others flew in and arrived Sunday morning. We used a trip planner called Fairways and Fun Days. I kind of did some research. It all started in February of 25. We had 3 couples out to dinner together. And one of them's a pretty gregarious guy, and he kind of said, we got to go to Ireland. And my buddy Ian, who Berkeley met, kind of leaned over and said, we need to go before we can't. And that kind of hit home, and there's probably, I don't know, anywhere from 12 to 20 of us that get together every fall in September up in Door County, Wisconsin, for a memorial golf tournament for a buddy of ours that passed away, and it's called the Gunner Cup. And since we've started that, and it's probably been going on 10 or 12 years, we've had 2 others pass away since we started it. So, it kind of hit home when Ian said that. So, I went back and started doing the research and kind of realized pretty quickly that you need to use, if you're going to get on the courses we wanted to get on, you have to use one of these travel companies.
That's what we've heard. How did you guys decide between Ireland and Scotland? Because that seems to be the decision point there. What tipped you to Ireland?
Yeah, I think one, Ian had already been to Scotland and never been to Ireland. And out of the 12 guys, probably 10 of them are Irish. I married into a Southside Irish clan, and I'm the only non-Irish out of everybody. So I gave up namesakes for all my children as well. So we decided to do Ireland. And, we lucked out because the company we use, Fairways and Fun Days, I think they did a great job kind of organizing the flow of the trip, where we were going. We kind of chose where we wanted to play. And so then they picked the hotels and they were able to organize the tee times. And every day we had tee times at noon, except for the one day when we played 36 holes, which was like a Bataan death march because it was 80 degrees that day. It was record heat, but we just had a blast. It was a lot of fun.
80 degrees in Ireland. Is it humid?
Well, it's not like Chicago, right? It's not arid like a mountain or a desert. I mean, you do feel a little bit of the humidity, but when it's 80 degrees and the wind's blowing and you're climbing up and down hills, it's definitely a different kind of environment.
How many days did you go for, and how long in advance did you have to plan this to get the dates that you wanted?
And that's a good question. Like I said, we got to dinner, it was February of 25. I probably spent 2 or 3 weeks talking to a couple different travel companies and finally decided, hey, I think I like this Fairways and Fun Days the best. And they came up with a preliminary itinerary. Basically, like the top courses, Ballybunion, Lahinch, Old Head, Tralee, Waterville. Generally, their tee times open up a year in advance. So we had to be ready to go really by May of 25. Once I received the preliminary itinerary, I sent it around to a bunch of guys that we all golf with or one step removed from knowing everybody. And we had 10 guys like right away. And then it took another couple of weeks. We had 11. And then the 12th one, that didn't occur until after our first deposit happened with the travel company. And the first deposit probably happened at the end of April of 25, but we were able to get it organized. We then had our 12th, and then the travel company took care of everything. So, we had the tee times booked, everything was ready. The only thing we did do is we kind of decided the day everybody arrived that Sunday is to play a course on our way to Old Head. And Old Head is that famed course off of Kinsale, Ireland, where Kinsale's just a beautiful kind of seaside town, kind of the southern tip of Ireland. And then Old Head is even probably 25 minutes south of Kinsale. And it's a little peninsula, which the rumor is it used to be a sheep farm. And the guy that owned the sheep ranch got tired of people coming out to his property, picnicking and scaring the sheep off the edge. So he sold it. It became this unbelievable golf course. It has some of those incredible views you've ever seen. And that was our second round. But the round on the way down, we added a course called Mount Juliet, which is a resort course outside of Kilkenny. And it's had 4 Irish Opens over the years. And it was the only parkland course we played. Everything else was a link style course.
Got it. So how many days did you do it? And how many courses did you hit?
We were there for 7 days, but we played 7 rounds in 6 days. We started on Sunday and played through Friday. And Wednesday, which was the hottest day, that's when we played 2 rounds.
Ireland is where you drive around. So, did you kind of go around in a little circle around the island?
Kind of. We stay down in the southwest area. But for our trip, and the great thing about the trip company is, we had a bus driver. The bus was loaded up with Guinness, Carlsberg, and water. We stayed in 3 different cities down south. So the main one was Killarney, where we were able to go to 3 different courses from Killarney. And so that was kind of nice to be stationed in one spot. You had your hotel, you were used to it, and that kind of helped. But I would say everybody probably ranged in the age of 55 to 65. And I would say adding that extra course where we played 36 holes in one day, that was a lot. I'm not kidding.
And then Greg, you can't have a cart, right?
Yeah, so another quick story. One of the guys in our opening day at Mount Juliet, on about the 6th hole, he's in a greenside bunker, hits this phenomenal shot out of the bunker. It's dancing at the hole. And I was up on the green and I'm looking at the hole and I'm like, great shot, Eddie. And the other 2 guys were kind of off the greens. And I looked down and Eddie's face planted in the sand trap. And I was like, Eddie, are you all right? And he wasn't moving. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe first day this is happening. And he raises his hand up then. And it ended up, he jumped on the side of the sand trap, rolled his ankle and rolled it pretty bad. So he had to suffer through. Now, this was around where we took carts. The first day, the resort course, Mount Juliet, had carts. But then the next 4 rounds, they had carts there for people that needed them for medical reasons. So he was able to get a cart. But, if it's a normal day, you can't get a cart, so you have to walk. And in fact, the last 2 rounds at Ballybunion and Lahinch, they don't allow carts at all. So he had to suffer through it and kind of walk around. And he got home and he's in a walking boot now. So he really muscled through this thing.
But you get caddies on all these courses, yes or no?
Yeah, we did. The one thing we did do is we had caddies. We had them double bag just to make it a little bit more economical for everybody. And the caddies are wonderful. I mean, you really need them because there's some holes where you'll get up there and you could have hit it 360 different directions. I mean, you just have no idea where you're supposed to hit. And so they have all the course knowledge and they really know the greens as well. And when you get to these courses, what's really fascinating about, links golf is typically the greens are really slow. Like we jokingly said, if you kept track of every putt everybody had, I bet you 90% of the putts were short. And it's because, with the wind that they have, if it was greens like what we're used to here in the States, you would put the ball down, the ball would just blow away. It really has to be that way. Yet they're not the most receptive greens either, because, you really have to learn to play the bump and run shot, from like the middle of the fairway, 170 yards out. You can't fly it in there. So it really changes the way you play.
Those famous courses out there, how would you compare kind of conditions to conditions that we get over here in the States?
It's interesting, and I think I sent over to Berkeley the video of the 18th tee box at Ballybunion. Yeah, Ballybunion was our second to last round, and it was the only day where we had rain. We had rain for 35 minutes, and then we had 30-mile-an-hour wind. And the week before we arrived and the week after, it was low 50s and rain every day. So we really had unbelievable weather. But, most of the courses are just they're more, the best way to put it is they're more raw. They're lovely. The greens really roll. The trouble there is if you get into, some of the thicker grass and whatever the case may be, depending on the courses. But it's not as if you have water like you would see in a Florida course or something like that. The traps are very much like you would see when you watch like British Open golf. I mean, they're there as a penalty. It's not like you're going for the green from a fairway trap. You're pitching out sideways or backwards trying to get out. So that's kind of the difference of it.
I guess what I'm asking, like here, you have country club conditions, which is, you're shooting off carpets in the fairways. Whereas poor Muni, you can't tell where the rough is from where the fairway is.
Yeah.
Where are their standards? Are their standards higher or the same?
It's more there, I would say. It's not like a carpet like a country club at all. I do think they take care of the greens, but I wouldn't even say some of the greens are the same type of greens you would see here as well. But, they make sure their rough is flourishing, and their rough could be really thick, high, knee-high grass. Some could be wispier grass. It just depends on the course you play. But kind of like when we played Lahinch, and I didn't realize this, but Old Tom Morris from St. Andrews was one of the original designers for Lahinch Golf Course. And then from there, you had some of the other, Alistair McKenzie, I think, was the next designer that helped out with it. But they have two of the original holes from Old Tom Morris. And one's a par 5 where you hit down, and then there's a huge, I don't know, it's probably a 4-story mound in front of you. Maybe it's 3 stories. And they have a red flag or a green flag on the top of the mound. And there's a guy in a hut whose job is to just come out and change the flag when it's time for you to go for the green. And basically, he designed the course way back when, and they didn't have the equipment to move the earth around or anything.
Interesting.
So they have holes like that.
From a budget standpoint, what was the cost for the travel company?
The challenge is because immediately when I saw the sticker shock of what the price was, I went and tried to recreate it on my own. And you start looking, and the biggest problem is trying to line up your tee times. It really is. For 5 of the 7 courses, it's €450 to play.
Whoa.
So, I mean, literally, yeah. And then on top of it, you're paying a caddy another €100.
Yeah.
So when you call it a bucket list trip, that's the reason why. So that's it. When you look like, now I get Instagrams all the time and I get hits from all these other courses in Ireland. And, there was like a wonderful seaside course that looked fantastic. So I looked it up, and it was like an hour and a half south of Dublin. And for locals, it's like €70. For international, it's 200. We're subsidizing the golf in Ireland. That's what it is. But you just recognize that going over, and that's why you're probably not going over every year, unless, you have the means you want to. But I will say this, after going to a course like that, it makes Pebble Beach look maybe cheaper. I mean, not that bad, But, it's more the experience. I mean, that's what
Totally.
you guys probably talk about. I mean, it was being with 12 guys on a bus, just laughing, and going back to what you used to feel like when you were young and everything else, and it's one of those where you're going to these great towns, you're going to pubs, you're hearing Irish music. I mean, you're just, it's just the experience that you can't replicate. So
that totally makes sense. But if you can, just give us a ballpark so that the audience can say, okay, this is a bucket list. I need to allocate X amount.
Sure. It's probably closer to, with flight, food, everything. It's probably like $6,000 to $7,000 is what
for
it
7
comes
days.
down to.
7 days and 7 courses, and all of that. That seems actually pretty good. I would think.
And I may be off a little bit. It may have been closer to 8. I know one thing. It is priced in euro, and from when we started the trip to where it is now, because of some of the, what's taken place with trade policies and so forth, the euro ran away from us. So it cost us another 10% more.
So that number you gave was euro.
Yeah, that's probably a euro number. So you're probably looking at 7,500, 8,000, US dollar.
Yeah. Okay. So right now the exchange rate's about 15%. So add 15% to that. Makes sense.
So 12 guys. Were you friends with all these 12 guys, or were there a couple that you didn't know? Maybe a friend of a friend?
Basically, I was the linchpin for all of them. The only one I didn't know was my buddy Ian, his brother-in-law, who joined us from Toronto. And he was the only one none of us knew. But, we had a couple guys join us from the trip I talked about, that we take every fall up to Door County. And then I would say 4 of the other guys are always part of that trip as well. And then there's, 6 of us that golf together regularly every Saturday. We play together all the time. And then there was one of our buddies that used to play in that group who was really probably my oldest friend on the trip.
Yeah.
And I knew him back in my early 20s. He was the one that really got me into golf back when we worked together downtown at Northern Trust. So it was pretty neat. And he was the one, by the way, I mentioned how we played Waterville, and his grandfather used to summer he was a judge from upstate New York, and used to go back to the Waterville area for 6 weeks every summer because Clark's grandmother was from the area. And one of his good friends from Wingfoot Golf Course was the one that created Waterville.
Oh, wow.
The 14th hole at Waterville is named after him. It's called the Judge. It's named after his grandfather.
Wow.
So we actually got to play together and got to play that hole. And it was really neat because Clark was showing some of the old photos over the years where he went over with his father and with his grandfather. And, Clark kind of turned to me and put his arm around me and said, thank you. And that's when you knew, the trip was worthwhile, So
what Berkeley's fishing for is who had too many Guinnesses and messed up their golf game or whatever.
I'm looking for some shenanigans, and I want to know, like, who's the guy that's late on making the payment? Who's the guy that you always have to baby? Who's the guy you got to call? Hey, man, it's time to get up. Did you have a couple of those guys? The guys like, hey, man, you guys, come on, guys, we got to get up early. Let's get out of the bar. What was going on?
I'll tell one quick story, and it was the first night when we're in Dublin, where there's only 8 of us. We stayed at the Temple Bar Hotel, which is right down in the Temple Bar district. And then the famed Temple Bar that U2's part of, it was literally, a half a block away, right? And so our mantra that day was you have to stay up till 9 o'clock because that's going to help kill the jet lag, right? So we went out throughout the day. We arrived at our hotel probably about 10:30 in the morning. We went, I think it's to the proper bar. It's like 2 doors down. It's like a 150-year-old bar. Started having Guinness there. We made it throughout the day, went to a bunch of places, and we finally get to 7 o'clock. We finally check into our hotel rooms, and everybody else is done for the night. And my buddy Dave and I, we kind of said, hey, next to that Temple Bar, it looked like they had a whiskey and cigar bar. So we go down to this whiskey and cigar bar, and we end up buying, a couple whiskeys, couple cigars. And we did that several times then for the next couple hours. But we started talking to these guys outside, and it was a group of them. There were 12 of them there, and they ended up being part of the Zurich Men's Choir, which is a 175-year-old men's group that travels 3 times a year, and they go to other cities, and then they perform, and then they drink like they're on a golf trip. And these guys were great. Met the brother. They ranged in age from like 22 to 84. And we're there, and our phones are dead because we just weren't into our room. We couldn't charge them or anything. But all of a sudden, these guys would start breaking out, and they were singing these German songs.
No.
And the Temple Bar is packed, and everybody's like videotaping these guys singing. And there we are in the middle of them, smiling, laughing, with our whiskeys and our cigars. And the next day, it kind of dawned on me. And I'm like, hey, Dave, what if those guys were singing like German Nazi war songs and we had no idea? And there we are in the middle of it, smiling and laughing. We're like, our careers are going to be ruined, But those guys were great. It was fantastic.
Those are the kind of experiences that you'll never forget, right?
Oh, it was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
It really was, And, but there were some late nights, and, a couple guys stayed out later than others. But, I'll say this for the group. Everybody answered the bell. Everybody made things on time. I mean, everybody was there serious. I would say, and throw this out for anybody planning these trips in the future, anytime you're trying to do golf games and there's a big group, there's an app you can use called 𝐸𝐞𝐿. Put in everybody's handicap, and, that kept track of all the skins and everything else. And, that was fantastic. It really was.
So let's go there next. Yeah, what are the games that you guys played? Did you guys put money on it, or just pride, or what?
Yeah, no, it wasn't. It wasn't big money. I think everybody threw in like $25, and basically you had individual skins, and everything was handicapped. You had individual skins, and then you had I think it was a 2-man best ball, and whoever had the worst score got to choose their partner the next day. And otherwise, we kind of randomized it and make sure you were partnered up with somebody else. And that worked out really well. And then, you would be in the bus, and then you would start talking about, every hole and bad shot, good shot, legendary shots, whatever it might be.
Very cool. So now that you've done the bucket list, how do subsequent trips live up to this, or what's next?
Well, it's kind of funny because I mentioned to the guys we should go up to Boyne, which is up in northern Michigan. It's up in Bay Harbor. And I'm like, we could get there, we could drive there. It's like 5 hours. We could probably even get more guys on the trip. And a couple of guys were immediately like, there's no way we're going back to Ireland, which is the hype of everything after you do it, right? The reality is it's a little bit more difficult than that. But, it does make you realize, how much fun it is, and, how great it is to get together and do all this. Now, I will say, all of us probably would say this, thank our wives for letting us do this as well, because this is our 30th wedding anniversary. And like I mentioned, my wife, Julie, is 100% Irish. The last time we were there 29 years ago, I played Ballybunion with her father. We actually visited the family farm where her aunt and uncle still lived, north of Galway, outside of 𝐿𝐵𝐿. Like I mentioned, she's 100% Irish. So what do we do for our 30th wedding anniversary? I go to Ireland with 12 guys without her. So it's safe to say I'm going to be paying for this for a long time.
Yeah,
so
how did you pull that?
Yeah. Basically, I organized it, invited all the guys, and then told my wife later, which, it's costed me a lot. Let's put it this way.
Were you sleeping in your office for like a month after?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's that wasn't easy. She's gone on 2 trips already, and I probably owe her 5 more. but
Yeah.
but she likes to golf too. And I mean, I think it's just Ireland's great because everybody there, everybody's Irish, even you, Berkeley. And, you could go there and everybody enjoys you. Even with everything that's happened over the past couple of years, it's still such a welcoming,
Yeah.
community. It
Yeah.
really is.
If your wife golfs, have you ever done a couples golf trip?
We have. We have a couple good friends where we've gone together during COVID 2020. We actually went up with another couple and we went up to Traverse City, so right up near Boyne.
Mhm.
We played Nicholas course there called the Bear. Where when Jack developed that course, I think he had no intention of ever having a woman, tee off on that course because there were holes where I'm like, there's no way you could get it over the water or whatever else,
Yeah. Yeah.
But, so we've done trips like that and she enjoys it. And one of the areas we've talked about is actually going internationally, is going to Portugal. And there's a lot of golf resorts, there that we'd love to check out. So,
Nice.
but yeah, it's fun. It's
Yeah.
neat.
Right.
That's awesome.
Well, we usually do a 6 score framework where we rate kind of the courses, crew, format, logistics, off course. I mean, this sounds like it just hit every point of your bucket list. So maybe we would change it up this time and say, if you're going to run it back, what would
Yeah.
you change or do differently?
One thing I would say is if you're planning a trip to Southwest Ireland, you can fly into Shannon. You don't need to fly into Dublin. Shannon's located more, I think, just outside of Galway, so it's easier to get in and out of.
Mhm.
And you don't really need to see. I mean, Dublin, it's great to see, but it's like any other major city. You want to get out in the country and kind of experience things. Boy, I tell you, there's really not too many things. I mean, those are the outside of maybe Royal County down, up north. I mean, those are the courses you want to play. So we really lucked out with that.
Yeah.
And now it's where do you go next time? Because you can break it down. You can go west, go northwest. Northern Ireland. There's great courses up there. You could really break down Ireland into a lot of different trips.
Yeah. I mean, for the 6 score framework, usually, again, we have a run it back mod, whether it's annual log, rotational classic, one and done, rebuild and run lightning in a bottle. This sounds like it was kind of lightning in a bottle type of thing.
Oh, it really was. I mean, even Dooks was the course we played on the second course we played on the Wednesday where we played 36. And again, it's probably more of a little neighborhood type course, but it was 1893. It was fantastic. And I had a caddy. His name was Paddy 𝐸𝐸𝐿𝐿. I'm not kidding. That was his actual name. And I mean, shout out to Patty. He was, he worked blacktop during the day, and then he caddied for us. Showed up, and he was wonderful. Graded, everything. You just enjoy it, and that's what's fun about it.
Awesome.
Coming into this, I was a little fearful because we had just spoken to someone who did an Ireland trip, and I was like, I don't know if we want to do one per region or area or whatever, but this has been great. Like, different information. You did some different courses, so yeah, this was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. And in fact, one of the courses we played Tralee, which is the Arnold Palmer's first golf course he designed, I think, outside of the U.S. And they are playing the Palmer Cup today through the weekend there.
Oh, wow.
Which the Palmer Cup is the collegiate amateur event between the U.S. and between Great Britain. And then Lahinch, the last course we played, they're hosting the Walker Cup in September. So it's kind of cool that you're going to be able to see these guys playing it, and you can actually remember the holes.
Yeah.
And say, I wonder how they did on this, that, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool.
Very cool. Well, Burke, where do you sit from the SICK-Pod FOMO score?
I think the 12 guys is fantastic. And I love the fact that he went with a bunch of guys that he knew. And, you kind of know everybody's personalities. That's good. I mean, some trips could be a little difficult when you're going that far and, you don't know 5 guys. They're friends of friends. And next thing you know, you got some craziness going on there. But right now, man, going with 12 guys to Ireland.
Yeah,
And doing this particular, what Greg and his buddies did. I'm putting this at like a straight up 8, 9. I love it. There's nothing, even when you ask Greg, he was there. You ask him, hey, what were some of the things you changed? He's like, I don't know. I wouldn't change anything. So that I really, really loved. And Carrie, we've been talking about we got to get to Ireland or Scotland. My thing is I don't want to be on a bus traveling between all these courses and sitting on a bus for 2 or 3 hours. You know what I mean? So, it seems to me that you guys didn't do that. Maybe an hour ride, hour and a half, maybe the longest.
Yeah.
Which is fine. So I'm loving it, Greg. And I'm so happy that we were able to get this together and you were able to do this. So I think a lot of people are going to love this episode.
Well, it was a pleasure meeting you and, to talk about this. So it's great.
Yeah, to relive the memories, I'm sure it's awesome. I would rank this right there as well. 8, 9. This is clearly a bucket list trip, one you got to do in your lifetime. Like you said, before you can't. I think I love that line.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. And Berkeley, I think kind of the way they did it with the travel company, you're sitting in the bus traveling to the next destination, but they're loading it with beers. It's just like sitting in the bar and you're talking about the round that just had. It's not your parking lot pimping, but it's your bus pimping or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Greg, so here's another thing that's funny. It's like, if I'm taking 12 guys and Carrie's a part of that, Carrie's going to be that bougie guy. He's going to be that one guy. Oh, the weather. Oh, I'm so hot. Oh, it's rainy. Oh, God, the wind. I put my ball to put it in it.
I would go at the time you went, Greg. It sounded perfect. 80 is beautiful.
That's Carrie. That's Carrie. Once you said you put the ball down and the wind took it, Carrie would be like, oh, I'm gone. I'm out.
Yeah. It is. I mean, I tell you what, that is the biggest shock. Like the first round when you come back home, like the Monday I got back, I'm like, I can't believe I have to play again. And it was literally after the third hole, I'm like, guys, it is so easy to play here in America. You get in a cushy cart, you drive to your ball, it's completely flat, there's no wind, you hit the ball to the green, it stops, it putts where you want to. I'm like, I don't know how we don't break it, par every round, but it was fantastic. The last story, so, interesting, but on my wall, the guys got together and they actually got me a photo, framed photo of hole 6 and 7 at Lahinch. So I look up there every time and remember on hole 6 when I hit into the wind and the wind knocked my ball down so bad. I didn't on a par 4, couldn't hit the green, chipped up, 2-putted for bogey, but I did par the next hole. So I can always look at that and remember, but there'll always be a smile too. It was just a great trip.
Very cool. Well, thanks again for sharing the stories. This was amazing. Really, really, really cool.
Yeah. Thank you, Greg. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
You want to close this out, Bert?
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in to another sick golf trip podcast with our guest, Greg, who I met in Chicago on a golf course. He was a great, great guest today. And ladies and gentlemen, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let us know if there's a course that you think that we need to play in the future. We need to get out there. We're trying to put together our little our guide trip. Let us know. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much from Carrie, from Berkeley, and Greg. Sick golf trips, baby. All right, go out there and hit them straight. We'll see you guys later.
Thanks, Greg.
Take
see
care,
you later.
guys.
All right. We'll see you, man.
See you.